Hi, I'm Crystal and welcome to Perkins On Parkway. We are continuing my bathroom series here. You can see behind me I painted it in a two-tone with a matte green on the top and a glossy green on the bottom, and I love the way it looks, but the next step is adding built-in shelving above the toilet. I've created these type of custom floating shelves in two different areas in my home, and I want to show you how you can recreate it. It's super simple. You don't need a lot of tools, so this is something that really anyone could create. So I'm going to take you through all the steps, so at the end of it, you too could put shelves above your toilet if you wanted to. Let's do it. Welcome to my guest bathroom. On the left side of the screen, you're going to see all the materials that you need to recreate this project. Some of these are optional, and I'll call that out along the way. You can see that I already have a little niche area above my toilet. So what I'm doing right now is measuring from wall to wall to get the dimensions for my shelves. The width ended up being 39.5, and then I decided I wanted the shelves to be about 11 inches deep. So here I am cutting them down on my table saw. You'll see this a little later in the video, but we're essentially going to be creating a wood sandwich. We're going to build a wooden bracket out of 1x2s and then cover it in the sheets of plywood and trim pieces. I know most people don't have a table saw, so instead you're going to want to use a jigsaw. They're super affordable and will get the job done no problem. Because I am building two separate shelves, I cut out 4 pieces of plywood and 2 pieces of trim for the front of the shelf. The next step was getting all of this wood prepped. I went over each piece of wood multiple times, increasing the grit of the sandpaper as I went. The higher the number, the smoother the finish. After doing the last few passes with 220, I had a super smooth board ready for stain. For the front of the shelf, I bought a select pine board that are traditionally better quality than plywood. I still like to sand these because it removes a lot of the yellow out of the board. Now let's get started on building our brackets out of our 1x2 boards. Okay, so these are gonna be the back and front of my brackets. Now I'm gonna cut some smaller pieces to put in the middle. And then this bracket is gonna go on the wall in the bathroom, and the plywood's gonna go on the top and the bottom. And then I'm gonna use my trim piece on the front. Normally I would miter this side, and miter the plywood, but I wanna simplify this for you so that anybody can do it. So I'm just going to take this wood, chop it, and stick it right up there. You can totally do it. I cut down the 1x2 for the brackets using the same dimensions that I did for the plywood. Here you'll see me doing a dry cut of the assembly to ensure that all the pieces fit together. This is what I was talking about with the plywood sandwich. You can see the brackets on the inside, the plywood on the top and the bottom, and then the front board is that really pretty select pine board. Because I'm building 2 of these shelves, I'm doing everything twice, whereas if you were only going to build 1 shelf, you would only have to do all of this once. Before assembling your board, you're going to want to dry fit everything because walls are not always perfectly straight. Now that all the pieces are cut, I'm going to start assembling the brackets. Here I'm going to use my Kreg jig to drill some pocket holes, and I am setting it to the 3/4 inch length. I'm going to be using pocket holes to attach my 9.5 inch pieces of wood to my back bracket. I'll be using 1 1/4 inch screws along with wood glue to make sure that it's super secure. Once the pocket holes are drilled, I'm going to add some wood glue in between the joints, clamp it together, and then screw in the screw. And then I'll repeat this for all of the different arms of the bracket. Glue, clamp, screw. Once your bracket is completed, it's time to install it on the wall. It's going to be really important for installation that you're able to locate the studs in your wall, so you're going to need a stud finder. If you're doing 2 shelves like I am, you're going to want to keep in consideration how far apart the shelves are, depending on what type of decor or items you want to place on the shelves. Here I used 3-inch wood screws, drilled through the bracket directly into the studs in the wall, and then added some brad nails on either side to secure it. The most important thing while you're hanging this is you want it to be level this way, but also this way. So you're gonna need to either use the same level or have 2 different levels to be able to make sure that you're getting it exactly right. Here I am using my stud finder just to make sure that I am drilling it directly into the studs in the wall. That way the shelf is super secure and strong. With the brackets installed, now I'm gonna add the front piece of the bracket using wood glue and brad nails. And here is what the fully installed bracket is going to look like. Now that both are in, it's time to get my boards prepped for installation. You can stain your shelves whatever color you want. For my house, I love to use Simply White by Minwax because I feel like it just knocks all of the yellow out of the pine. I like to use a rag for my application, and here is a good tip if you are ever staining using a rag. After you are done staining, you want your rags to dry completely before you throw them in the garbage can. As a rag dries, it releases heat, so there are a lot of people that have lost their homes because they take a stain rag, throw it in the garbage can, and it will combust. So just make sure it completely dries before you put it in the trash can. Okay, now that I have stained the stuff for the shelves, I'm gonna go in with this polyacrylic on the top. If you're ever working with polyacrylic, you don't wanna shake it before you use it because you'll get a lot of air bubbles in it. So just make sure you take your paint stick and stir it all up before you get to painting. Let's do it. Because I'm using pine plywood, I like to do a lot of coats of polyacrylic just to help with the integrity of the board. So I will roll on 1 coat of polyacrylic, sand, and then I will do 2 more coats to get the board completely ready for installation. This normally takes me a couple of days because you want to give it some time to dry before you install it and sand it. After the final coat of polyacrylic, you're going to want to go over and do a really nice deep sand with a 220 grit. You want a fine grit sandpaper to give it a really, really smooth finish. After the final sand, you can take a tack cloth and go over it to get all of that dust off. All right, it is shelf install day, and we have our final pieces that have 3 coats of the polyurethane and 1 final sand to make them super smooth. So this is gonna be the front piece of our shelves, and these are gonna be the top and bottom of our shelves. So you can see we have the brackets back here. It's gonna be the bottom and the top, the bottom, and then the top. So you can pick the prettiest piece of wood that you want facing out most directly. And then this is what's gonna go on the front. So we're gonna start assembling. I'm also gonna show you a really cool hack using my brad nailer and a piece of tape that will make the wood filling process really, really seamless. Let's do it. First step. Because you've already dry fit your plywood pieces, you know it's gonna fit on top of your brackets. So I like to install the top pieces first because I know that they can just rest on the brackets while I install them with the brad nailer. For the front trim pieces, I saved those final last cuts because I wanted to do it once the board was already stained to get a clean finish. Now you can see on the final board, I'm putting a piece of tape down before I shoot in the brad nail, and this is a new hack that I learned for wood filling. You put the piece of tape down and then shoot your brad nail through it. That way you can go in and use your wood filler over the top of the tape. That way when you pull the tape off, it's going to remove any of that excess wood filler. This is really the money shot, putting on that final trim piece that covers up the bracket and the side of the plywood for a really clean look. The final step to finish is wood filling. Because I am doing a lighter blonde wood, I am mixing natural and white together to give me a custom wood fill mix. Because we already did the due diligence of putting the tape down when we shot the brad nails in, this is going to be really easy because you can just go in over the top of the tape and press it into the nail holes. Once the wood filler is dry, I remove the tape and go in with a little micro sander, and it's like the hole never even existed. I feel like my custom wood filler matched really, really well. You can also sand over the tape if you'd like. And here is what the final finished project looks like. Are you ready? If you need any more detail, you can check out the step-by-step written tutorial on my blog. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I love creating these DIY tutorials that feel achievable and doable for you, and I'd love to see you recreate these.